So chapter 963 is out of One Piece, and much like the previous chapter, it follows suit with the pacing because we go from 33 years into what happens in the present time to 30 years. So 3 years go by towards the end of this chapter. Impression that Oda is picking up the pace of the flashback. Again, still doesn't explain how many chapters we got left, but it is cool diving into some important things in this chapter. We start off with the cover page, and I gotta say, perhaps the most informative part of this cover story yet when it comes to Capone and Chiffon. We get a group of bandits, or a group of pirates, look like fodder, but they're attacking Dressrosa. They called the German pirates, and what's really cool is obviously the female chick, the horns on top of her head or something, is very reminiscent to Conus of Skypiea, although she doesn't have some wings. So it's a cool design, and the captain has a similar design of that buggy. In fact, he's dressed similar to the old style buggy, so that's kind of funny. What's really interesting though is apparently King Riku isn't on Dressrosa, so that's interesting considering the fact that the king is away. They haven't returned from the reverie, and that would also imply that Rebecca Viola have not returned also. So I find that very interesting. Then we go, speaking of informative, we start the chapter off with Zunisha with Zoe. According to this, it takes place several hundred years ago, which actually makes sense because we know Zunisha performed the criminal, and Zunisha ended up having to walk around for 1,000 years, so that would make sense. I still think there's some voice sensory information that Zunisha really has. We may get some tidbits of. I just found that interesting. And the chamber is to where we see the Rob Poneglyph and the crest of the Kozuki clan, and that's been there since years before Kozuki Oden apparently, and before Nekomamushi and Hinarashi were grown up. They both learn of Wano, because you have Nekomamushi said, "Oh, I want to go there someday." And in the previous chapter, we saw them washed up ashore. So that was really interesting and funny. Is we just saw that in the anime. Like, they already got beaten up, they got trounced on, and we know Oden came to the rescue. But the way that it's portrayed in this chapter is completely different. Like, for starters, we see Nekomamushi and Hinarashi on the shore, on the sea, making their way to Wano, and if you notice to see the waves, so that's outside the waterfall, or where we see the koi fish. Nekomamushi and Hinarashi, I'm pretty sure not know what in the hell they're doing. They're already regretting this, and the moment they get washed up ashore, they're getting tortured by the citizens of Wano. Some of the samurai are being real douches to them. In fact, they have them on stakes, and they're literally gonna burn both Nekomamushi and Hinarashi and Kawamatsu, because he was with them. He's the one that found them on the shore. And it reminds me of what happened with Doflamingo, his father, and Rocinante, when Doflamingo snapped and awoke Conqueror's Haki. But instead, what happened was Oden, who was swimming ashore, came to the rescue. And what's really fun is we know this takes place on the beach of Kore, because you see literally the sand and the shore. So the fact that Oden was just swimming there casually, it's like, whoa, okay, that might get swept over by a few people, but yeah, that just adds more to like how Oden is badass. And even in a loincloth, he's badass. So it's like, you have no shame, you lads. He beats up the bandits who are about to burn them alive, and then you fear them because they're different, ignorance. So I like that. Obviously, displaying more of Oden's character, and we know he takes Nekomamushi and Hinarashi and how they favor him. But I did find it funny how after he resolved this, he was going to leave them there on the stake. So all three say, "Don't just leave us there." So it also explains how Kawamatsu falls into this as well. We go over to Kuri Castle, much like the samurai did. Nekomamushi, Hinarashi, and Kawamatsu ended up following Oden straight to the castle. So we see the same crest on the side of the palace. So, and you have Kinemon, and it looks like Okiku. You can't really be sure, but it looks like that, alongside Oden and Hinarashi having a pet bath. I think Kawamatsu is also there too. Really funny is like when they're being fed, you have Nekomamushi and Hinarashi. I think Nekomamushi is actually eating lasagna, which goes to show you nothing ever changes, and nothing about his personality has changed too. But he's like, this stuff is hot for me. In fact, it's way too damn hot, so he's like spitting it all out. And we get somewhat of kanji description, like someone with a sensitive tongue can't eat hot food. So in Japanese, it said they have a cat tongue. So there you go. So that makes sense with Nekomamushi. So, and obviously Kawamatsu was eating this easily, and the reason why we found out why he was washed up ashore, we know he's a fisherman, and that was confirmed here. Apparently he got the rough treatment because obviously we know there's discrimination against with the humans. People called us fishermen and threw stones at us. My mum got injured because of this, and we weren't able to return home before she died, and that's really messed up. Like, the fishermen are discriminated against, so she already knew this. So she told me to be proud of the fact that I'm a Kappa. So Kawamatsu embracing who he is, so that's kind of cool. Just adds more to the fact that by the end of the series, Luffy is going to do something to bridge that discrimination. We know this. But how he's going to get there is going to be very interesting, especially with rumblings of how the series is going to take place and how it's going to tie in with Wano to the final arc. So that's going to be very interesting. He's got a bit Nekomamushi, Inuyasha, and Kawamatsu farewell, but it's like, no, we're not going, we're staying. We don't have anywhere else to go. He's not a lot about the situation. What's really funny is, though, in the background interaction, you have Raizo hanging from the ceiling. You have Denjiro talking to Oden, and you have what looks like Okiku with a feather as just teasing Nekomamushi, which could be a reference to like Robin having to leave back in Zou. So I thought that was kind of interesting and convenient. Their pockets are empty because they have very little money, so Raizo, Kanjuro, and Kinemon, thinking that they're super slick, I think the other samurai with them would steal Yasui. We're going to rob that Yasui, so they're still not changing their ways. And what's really interesting is we learn more about the Yasui not really having Orochi anywhere near him, but he's still under Yasui's jurisdiction as the daimyo. So that's interesting. And they're aware of his shady ways apparently, but again, they still don't know nothing about it. Anyway, they go to Hakamai, actually getting arrested, which normally that would probably be the case. And you have all the retainers there. And the shot looked on the face is like, oh, you can have the money. You can keep the money you stolen. Yasui's reason is because you love Oden, and because I think he's going to become the shogun of Wano. You need to style yourself up. You need to brush yourself off and be more presentable. If you're going to be samurai, that he has so much respect for Oden that he's willing to help out his samurai. So that speaks to Yasui's character. And what's really cool is you see them finally wearing the kimonos, the samurai, and like you got the middle panel like where you got Okiku learning manners and talking about forsooth, and Kinemon's like, you need to say it from the soul. So I like that. They're learning more about education and knowledge. I think is Denjiro the one that's actually teaching them. I can't be sure, but because you have someone with a similar ponytail and glasses teaching them on a blackboard. So, and Yasui again with his reasoning being having louts like you as his retainer would only bring Oden shame. Why Lord Oden? And even Oden's disturbed by this changing personality when it comes to like the retainers. Like, whoa, what the hell's gotten into you? Like, you're creeping me out here. So that's kind of cool. It's like it shows to like the respect that Yasui has for Oden. So that's more the hype building. And the quote, "One day that man will be the shogun of Wano." I don't know if it's a reference to the allies of Luffy or the Straw Hats, because we've seen them multiple times say he's good. No, you don't understand. Luffy will become king of the pirates. So I wonder if that's a parallel to like Kozuki Oden, because we know he has similar tendencies as Momonosuke. So that would make sense. This is where we go into the time skip part of things. And 3 years later, 30 years before the present day in the Flower Capital, we also see the mountain boar we saw 2 chapters ago that got sliced in half by Kozuki Oden. Turns out he got patched up. You see the scar and all that. You got stitches, so he's still alive. Like, we see the samurai looking more mature and badass than ever before, and even Nekomamushi and Inuyasha are with them. And they're all grown up. And Kinemon dyed his head to black, so looking more presentable. Okiku looking more grown up. Izo looking at the age when he joins Whitebeard's crew. And this is where we go to the sketchy part of the episode, because we go to like the Flower Capital, the Palace of the Shogun, Kozuki Sukiyaki, the father of Oden. And meanwhile, in the background, you have Orochi with his scheming pose, like he's about to do some sketchy stuff. And you have the narrative. Oden has rushed to the capital because he heard that his father was ill. So the seeds have already been planted. Now they're growing into full bloom. But instead of a beautiful flower that you usually would get, or a beautiful plant, we know it's going to turn out ugly because of Orochi's ways. This is coming from the narrator that finding him will set his heart at ease. Unfortunately, that was to be the last time the two of them would ever speak to each other. We know Oden is eventually going to be away from Wano because he's going to be talking to Goldie Roger. We've seen that conversation already. We go to the harbour of Itachi Harbour in the same year in Cully, and we see the Moby Dick. Whitebeard's Moby Dick. Apparently it's been it took some damage on its way to Wano. A week to fix that ship. So they spent a week, which I found very interesting because wasn't that the same amount of time that Ace, he spent some time there because his ship got wrecked. So he spent some time with Tama. So I find that there you go, the parallels of dynamics, because we know Ace is going to become part of this crew, the Whitebeard crew in all its glory. We have Whitebeard, Marco, who looks like a cabin boy, and that's really funny. You have Vista, you have Whitey Bay, and you have Diamond Jozu. So that was pretty cool. And then immediately, before things kick off, and they just arrive on Wano, that goes to show you his level of observation hockey, because I'm pretty sure he said Whitebeard, and that's the reason why I went. And immediately, you see Whitebeard with a panel with an expression of concern, which this is prime Whitebeard. So he senses, it's obvious he senses Oden's hockey. We've seen Whitebeard clash with Shanks, who wasn't in his prime. Shanks, I would say Shanks wasn't in his prime too, because his prime would have been when he had both arms. But he's still a beast, and Whitebeard did not sweat Shanks whatsoever. They clashed with the hockey, and that's how we left it. Here, prime Whitebeard shows some level of concern against Oden. So what does that say in comparison? What does that tell you about Oden's strength and his reputation? I'm not downplaying Shanks, but it's just a fact. So that's something you need to take into consideration, because we know Whitebeard doesn't sweat anybody. So in comes Oden. Whitebeard guns his sword, and we get a clash. I'm assuming it's a hockey clash. It looks like Oden's got both swords, the Amino Hapakiri, and obviously the Mito Emna. So he's got both swords out. I think he's got hockey on them both, and he just clashes with Whitebeard. And we see the clash. We see everybody, the shockwave, very reminiscent to Shanks and Whitebeard and Kaido and Big Mom. And while this is going on, my name is Kozuki Oden. I don't know who you lot are, but let me sail with you. And we know eventually becomes the captain of Whitebeard. How he joins them, but it seems like he was interested from the get-go. And what's really funny about this, I'm pretty sure Izo's going to caught wind of this, and we know he's going to become part of the Whitebeard's crew. So that's going to be interesting dynamic. So how he becomes a retainer to how he goes affiliate with Whitebeard. So I can't wait to find that out. But now we get into the swing of things of how Whitebeard interacts with Wano and Kozuki Oden. Things are going to get messed up, so I can't wait to see what that is. The pacing continues to pick up in this flashback, so I can't wait to see what happens next. We know Goldie Roger is also going to interact with him, so that's going to be interesting. I thought got some interesting information. What I thought was an okay average chapter, for being honest, with a decent ending with Whitebeard being on Wano. Let me know what you guys think down below. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like this review if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.